A student was conducting space research with the aid of a telescope. While observing the skies, she discovered a massive comet hurtling through space at an incredible speed in an unknown direction. This became one of the greatest discoveries of the century, and the credit went to Kate. When her professor, Dr. Randall, heard the news, he was overjoyed and, along with the other students, organized a celebration to mark Kate's success. During the event, the students asked Randall how big the comet was, how fast it was moving, and in which direction. Randall began calculating, but the results left him utterly horrified. He immediately sent the other students home and told Kate the truth. The comet was about 9 kilometers in diameter, traveling toward Earth at 25,000 kilometers per hour, meaning it was on a direct collision course with Earth. If the impact occurred, it would wipe out all life on the planet. The most terrifying part, the collision would take place in exactly 6 months and 14 days. The revelation sent chills through Kate. She immediately called NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office and reported everything. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Teddy quickly arranged a plane to take Randall and Kate straight to the White House to inform the president. They sent word through the president's staff and waited outside her office. But to their shock, the US president showed no real concern. She was preoccupied with her birthday party and political maneuvers. The three of them had to wait for hours to get a meeting, only to be told by her son to come back the next day. Furious and frustrated, they left. Eventually, after more waiting, the president finally agreed to see them. When Randall and Kate explained the situation, they were visibly shaken. They said that when the comet struck Earth in 6 months and 14 days, the explosion would unleash the power of millions of nuclear bombs, triggering worldwide earthquakes and tsunamis. Yet, despite knowing about this impending apocalypse, the president treated it as a minor issue. She asked Randall about the probability of impact. He answered, 100%, but the president only worried about maintaining her position. With the election approaching, she said they couldn't tell the public they were all going to die in 6 months. It would ruin her campaign. She ordered Randall and Kate to keep the discovery a secret until after the election, and only then would action be taken. The three of them were stunned. Randall argued there was still a chance they could launch nuclear warheads to destroy or deflect the comet. But President Orlan ignored the warning. The three left the White House in shock and anger, unable to believe that such a matter of life and death was being delayed for politics. Still, Randall and Kate were determined to make the truth public and force the government to act. They decided to turn to the media. Kate's boyfriend, a journalist, arranged a meeting with reporters and the editor of a renowned newspaper. There, Randall and Kate recounted the entire story about the comet and revealed that the president was covering it up to protect her political power. The journalists were stunned by the revelation. They agreed to let Randall and Kate speak out on a famous television program, where the hosts frequently interviewed high-profile guests. On the day of the show, Randall and Kate arrived at the studio. But before their segment, the hosts interviewed a global pop star, and that story was already flooding social media and TV networks. To boost ratings, the news channels prioritized the love affair of singer Riley and DJ Cello over the news of the coming apocalypse. Randall and Kate had to wait a long time before finally being invited on air. They revealed the grim truth. In exactly 6 months, a giant comet would crash into Earth and wipe out all life. But instead of showing concern, the two hosts burst into laughter, mocked them, and suggested they should see a psychiatrist. Losing her composure, Kate shouted to the entire world that this was not a joke, then broke down in tears and stormed off the set. Yet no one believed them. The hosts continued to treat the story as a punchline. Not long after, Randall and Kate checked the show's viewership charts and saw clearly that audiences were far more interested in Riley and DJ Cello's love story. Kate's angry outburst was even turned into memes, humiliating her further. Her boyfriend broke up with her over the scandal. Time passed, and President Orlan was hit with a massive scandal when a compromising photo of her leaked online, shattering her credibility. At that very moment, an FBI team arrested Randall, Kate, and Teddy on charges of leaking classified information. However, instead of being jailed, they were escorted directly to the White House. The president invited them into her office and said she had ordered her scientists to review the data about the comet. It was confirmed to be real. Therefore, she had decided to take the initiative to save the world. Kate mocked her, saying, "So you finally found a way to turn the apocalypse into an election advantage. How shameful to use the end of the world as a political tool." Orlan did not acknowledge the remark. Randall and Kate, though disapproving, still felt a glimmer of relief. At least the world now had a chance of survival. President Orlan and her son Jason launched a political campaign. she addressed the nation on a live emergency broadcast, announcing that a comet would destroy Earth in 5 months, but reassured everyone that a plan was in place, and nuclear warheads would be launched to destroy it in space. To maximize political impact, instead of controlling the mission remotely, she turned it into a heroic suicide operation. She appointed General Benedict to lead the mission, a man willing to sacrifice his life to save humanity. At the same time, she publicly credited Randall, Kate, and Teddy as key contributors to the plan. Instantly, Orleans' popularity soared, and she won a sweeping victory in the election. Finally, the day of the rocket launch arrived. The whole world prayed for the mission's success. At the White House, Orlin, Randall, and Kate watched anxiously as the rockets prepared for departure. Just then, a tech billionaire entered. Peter, Orleans' biggest donor and a powerful figure in policymaking, asked the president to step outside for a private talk. Meanwhile, everyone else was glued to the screens as the rockets lifted off. But shockingly, as soon as they cleared the launch pad, every rocket deployed parachutes and fell back to Earth. Nobody could understand what had happened, or why the mission had failed. Randall, Kate, and Teddy sat in a room filled with dread, while President Orlin was busy in meetings with her advisors. Suddenly, Jason entered and told Randall, "From today, you are the White House Chief Science Advisor. The president has invited you to join the meeting right now." Randall could hardly believe it. He followed Jason into the conference room, where everyone was anxiously waiting for an explanation. Then Peter Isherwell spoke up. Earth's natural resources were depleting at an alarming rate. Rare minerals essential for producing phones and computers would soon be gone. His team of space geologists had confirmed that the comet contained an astronomical amount of resources worth nearly $140 trillion. Randall exclaimed, "So that's why you sabotaged the mission, to mine the comet, but if Earth is destroyed, what good is that money?" Peter calmly replied, "If we break it apart into smaller pieces, they will fall without causing catastrophe. My new technology will ensure it." Though the plan sounded insane and carried unimaginable risks, one mistake could erase humanity. President Orlin and Peter Isherwell were willing to gamble everything. Randall left the meeting and rushed to tell Kate and Teddy what had happened. Hearing the news, Kate was on the verge of losing her mind. To everyone's surprise, Randall gradually began to agree with the new plan. He thought that if humanity could harvest resources from the comet, it would be a great opportunity for the country. One night in a bar, some locals overheard their conversation. They demanded to know the truth. Kate couldn't take it anymore. She stood up in the middle of the bar and revealed the entire truth about the conspiracy behind the failed mission. Fury erupted. The crowd began rioting, smashing things, until police arrived just in time to contain the chaos. Shortly afterward, the FBI arrested Kate once again for leaking classified information. They warned her that if she ever mentioned the comet or Peter Isherwell's company again, she would be imprisoned. Only after she promised to stay silent did they release her. Defeated, Kate decided to give up everything and return home to her parents. But to her shock, her parents refused to let her in. They too supported President Orleans' new mission with Isherwell. It turned out that the president had lied to the public, claiming the comet posed no threat to Earth and that mining it would make the nation the richest in the world. No more unemployment, everyone would be wealthy. Blinded by false promises of wealth and jobs, the people believed her over the scientific evidence. Kate's own parents told her bluntly that if she wouldn't support the president, there was no place for her in their home. Meanwhile, President Orlin and Peter Isherwell assigned Randall the task of public relations, promoting the mission's supposed benefits. Randall appeared on television, praising the plan as a monumental step forward for humanity. Sometime later, Randall joined the president and Isherwell to inspect the drone system designed to attach explosives to the comet. Randall demanded, "As chief science advisor to the White House, I insist you scientifically prove this mission is viable. This cannot just be a business deal." Isherwell snapped back, "This isn't business, this is the future." Randall fell silent, but inside he now fully understood. Orlin and Isherwell were willing to risk all of humanity for their own profit. By this time, the comet was only 25 days away from Earth. Randall was invited onto television once again. But by then, the media had been bought out by the government, treating the comet as nothing more than entertainment. The film industry even rushed out a movie set to premiere on the very day of impact. The public laughed it off. During the broadcast, the host asked Randall if the comet was even real. Randall finally snapped. He shouted on live television that everyone was going to die. He screamed, begging the world to wake up. As a result, Randall was fired from his position as the White House science advisor. Meanwhile, Kate, abandoned by the world, wandered the streets. She met a young man named Yule, and with the end near, she chose to spend her final days with him in love and honesty. One day, she looked up and saw a glittering light in the sky. The comet had come so close to Earth it was now visible to the naked eye. With death looming, fear spread across the world. Finally, Randall, Kate, and Teddy reunited. They launched a movement called Just Look Up, urging people to open their eyes and force the government to act. The campaign quickly spread, with celebrities joining the cause. DJ Cello even composed a song in support of Just Look Up, raising awareness about the danger of the comet. But President Orlin countered with a campaign of her own, deliberately sowing doubt. She declared publicly that Randall and Kate were only spreading rumors to incite panic. She went so far as to tell the public, "Don't look up." On social media, a fierce debate erupted. Those who believed the truth and supported Kate spread the Just Look Up movement, while those seduced by Orlin clung to the Don't Look Up slogan. Randall, Kate, and Teddy realized that no matter what they did, President Orlin only cared about political gain. Their last hope lay with other nations. In fact, after Orlin and Isherwell refused to share the comet's resources, Russia, India, and China rushed to launch their own independent mission to destroy it. But due to poor preparation, their rockets exploded shortly after liftoff. The final glimmer of hope vanished. The comet was closing in, only hours away from impact. With death imminent, people finally woke up to the truth. They had been deceived by Orlin all along, but it was too late. Nothing could stop the comet now. The entire world could only cling to Orlin and Isherwell's plan. Meanwhile, Randall, Kate, and Teddy returned to Randall's home. Believing the mission would fail, Randall wanted to spend his last hours sharing a warm dinner with family and friends. In the control room, President Orlin and Isherwell prepared to carry out their final plan. 30 drones were launched into space, but 4 malfunctioned and crashed. Isherwell reassured them, "Don't worry, those were just backups." Then, as the remaining drones landed on the comet to drill and plant explosives, 2 more were destroyed. Orlin grew uneasy, but Isherwell insisted, 24 is enough. Moments later, as drilling began, a massive explosion erupted. All signals from the drones were lost. Communication with the comet was gone. Panic spread. Isherwell realized the mission had failed. Silently, he and Orlin slipped out of the control room. Soon after, the world learned the truth. The last attempt to stop the comet had failed. Chaos consumed cities as people fled in desperation to reunite with loved ones. At that moment, Randall sat at the dinner table, sharing one final meal with his family. Suddenly, President Orlin called him. "We anticipated this. We built a special spacecraft to escape Earth. It can hold 2,000 people. Come with us." But Randall refused. "I'd rather die with my family than live like a coward. Go enjoy your new life with your son." Orlin froze. She suddenly realized she had forgotten to bring her son Jason, who was still waiting in the control room for her return. And then the comet struck Earth. A cataclysmic explosion obliterated the planet. In an instant, all life was erased. The impact was so violent that Earth's fragments scattered deep into space. Yet, at that very moment, a spacecraft escaped Earth, the one carrying Isherwell, President Orlin, and a group of wealthy elites. This ultra-advanced ship had been programmed to automatically search for an Earth-like planet capable of sustaining life, preserving its passengers in cryogenic chambers for thousands of years. Roughly 22,740 years later, the ship finally discovered a lush, green world almost identical to Earth. Landing pods descended, though many malfunctioned and crashed, killing some passengers. Some, however, survived the descent. Among them were Isherwell and President Orlin. Overjoyed by the beautiful landscape, the survivors stepped out of their pods. Suddenly, they encountered a strange yet majestic creature. Orlin approached, reaching out to stroke it, but the alien beast instantly lunged, biting off her head and devouring her. It was exactly as Isherwell's predictive algorithm had once prophesied. This was the Bronterok, the creature destined to kill her. More Bronteroks appeared, attacking the survivors. One by one, the billionaires, Isherwell, and Orlin's group were torn apart and eaten alive. Greed had led humanity to ultimate ruin. The film closes with a message about mankind's apathy toward existential threats, most notably climate change.